Hey, you guys, welcome to my shop. I have had a lot of requests to do podcasts, and so we thought we'd start one. This is Christopher, my son, and my manager, and takes care of everything, all my online stuff, and he's just stepped right in and done a wonderful job. My daughters have done really well as well, and my wife has helped out a lot. One of the things that we got asked a lot of is to do podcasts, and Christopher watches a lot more podcasts than I do, so we thought we'd give this a shot. So forgive us, it's our first time out of the gate, and so we're gonna just go through some things that questions we've had on TikTok, on the lives, and in the comments on the Friday Night Shop Thoughts, and Christopher's gonna kind of lead me through questions. Some of them are gonna be I don't know, and so we're just gonna try this out and see what happens. So thank you guys for being here with us.
Yeah, so I'm Chris. A lot of you probably know me as Christopher if you watch the lives. A lot of the comments that we get asking towards what your life is, you comment a lot on all of the comments. Is that actually you commenting, or do you have someone else doing it for you?
So that's a good question, and I do get that a lot, and I get a lot of compliments that I comment on everything, and I do try to comment on everything. I heart everything that I see, and I really do try to at least say thank you. Or you're welcome if they say thank you to me. And if they have a question or make a comment that I really feel like needs to be commented on, I go ahead and comment on it. And they're usually short because, comments on TikTok are generally fairly short, don't give you a lot of space to do it. So I really do try to comment on everyone myself. And so, I actually do it. It's not a bot. So.
And then a lot of people ask, because your bio says just an old guy in a shop. Exactly how old are you?
I am 68 years old. I was born in 1957, and you can do the math. I am indeed 68 years old. However, I feel much younger than that, and totally healthy at this point in my life. So things are going well, and I've enjoyed all 68 years.
Nice. Now, in your bio, you say you're an old man that's just trying to help one person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you've helped that one person?
This is an emotional question for me because I really did want to just help one person, and when TikTok I had 42 followers, and when TikTok took off and I wound up with a lot more followers, the comments have helped me believe that I'm helping more than one, and so I actually feel really good about that. I think my advice and my maybe positive attitude, and hopefully I'm inspirational to some people. And I feel like I'm helping more than one, and I thank you guys for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you have 1.8 million followers on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. 1.8 million.
Do you feel any sort of fame when you wake up or anything like that? What's changed?
Oh, I've got all the sports cars now, and the news people and reporters, and it's just life has changed entirely. Not really, you guys. If this is what famous is, and if this is the type of fame that I have to live through because I never aspired to be famous, then this is the best kind of fame to have. I'm still home. I still drive the same cars. I still get up. I go to work every day with my day job still, and so 1.8 million followers, and I love each one of you, and it's been great to have. But as far as significant changes in my life, I still do my Friday Night Shop Thoughts. I still have my family around me a lot, and nothing's really changed all that much.
Okay. Well, have you been recognized at all when you're in public?
I do get recognized occasionally in public. Christopher and I were at the bank.
The bank, yeah.
Yeah, the first time that when it first blew up, and we were at the bank, and the two women behind the counters were very polite, and didn't say anything until it got mentioned some other way. I forget how it was mentioned, but they were both like, "We were hoping you'd say something," and so that happens. And then I was in a hardware store in nearby town, Elma, yesterday, and I had a person, as soon as I walked in, went, "You're a TikTok star," and so that it does happen, but mostly I walk my life without really being recognized, and I appreciate that. It's the kind of fame that if I have to be, because I'm a fairly I'm a fairly quiet person, and I like my life alone. I like my loner jobs and my things that I do on my own. Yeah, I'm a little bit introverted, and so's Christopher.
As am I, yeah.
Yeah, so chip off the old block, and I don't mind this kind of celebrity and fame. When I was at church this morning, I had a few people come up and comment on it, and but these are people that know me, and I've also been putting shop thoughts on Facebook for my friends and family for years, and so a bunch of years, and so they're all familiar with that, and they knew that it took off. And then of course being on the Kelly Clarkson show, which was a national thing, and so that actually I got razzed about that a lot today.
I can imagine.
National television, so it's just but yes, and if you want my autograph, that's going to cost you, but no, we're not that way. And I do see this, and I have said this in many of the comments back to people. It's a journey that I'm on, that you all are on as well. You all took this journey with me. You all brought brought me through this and to this, and so it's as much my story as it is yours, and I tell people that a lot. I've commented that a lot on the Shop Thought comments and on the lives, and so it's my honor. And I'm still relatively unrecognized in public though, and I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, not at all.
So,
well, this first episode, I kind of want to have it be getting to know Troycolley203.
I am now Troycolley203.
Yeah.
And you're Christopher Troycolley203's son. So,
so I know you've talked in your lives a few times, but what was life growing up as an Army brat?
So,
Moved a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even comprehend that, because I guess I had to go to high school to the city or the town next over, but 2 schools, 1 school my whole life.
Yeah, no
complete
moves.
Opposite for you.
No, the only move was 500 feet. We had an older home on the same piece of property, and we moved 500 feet down here when we built this house.
A little over 1, so I don't have too many memories of that.
Good memories of it, but that was his one move. I moved. My father was military, and I was born on a military base in Fort Benning, Georgia. It was Fort Benning, Georgia, which now has a new name. It's Fort Moore now, and after Hal Moore and his wife, he was a military long time, had a career in the military a long time, and they've changed the name to that. But born in Georgia on a military base. At that time, they were just barracks that they'd turn it into a hospital. I don't know if you know this or not, but when I was born, they had the birthing area in one barracks, and I was born just before dawn, and my mother was then carted across a parking lot to the recovery barracks.
Really?
And she said she had me in her arms and laying down on this gurney.
Hopefully the weather was nice.
Yeah, well, she could see stars.
Oh, okay.
And so they pushed her to this other barracks. And so, it was kind of a cool story. Yeah. I think they have a real hospital down there now, but at that time, that was what it was. And so that was 1957, and my dad was in officer candidate school at that time. So he was in this very serious training to become an officer. And he had, if you got any kind of demerits at all, you didn't get the day off. You couldn't get a day off.
Yeah.
He hadn't had any that week, and they try and nail you on everything. He hadn't had any that week, and so he was actually at the when I was born, he was actually there. He was, back then they didn't allow the husbands in the room, but so he was there. And then as a military brat, and with a dad who was an officer, a young officer, back in those days, to really climb the officer ladder, you moved a lot, and so we went from posting to posting. By the time I graduated 12th grade, I'd been to 12 schools. I'd been to schools on 2 different continents. I've been in schools all over the United States, and some on military bases, and some just out in the public schools, depending on where we got housing at. And growing up as a brat, as an Army brat, I'm proud of it. I'm 68 years old, and I'm still a proud Army brat, and I think most Army brats that I know feel that way. And in fact, I graduated from a Department of Defense high school 18 years after I was born in Stuttgart, Germany. Mm-hmm. And we're having our 50th year reunion this year on the East Coast. And so, so that'll be cool. That'll be all brats all together. And it was a unique life that gave me opportunities that my own children didn't get to experience, like a lot of moves, so I'm comfortable being dropped pretty much anywhere. And then also everywhere we went, my parents made sure that we always, when we went to a new place, we spent the first 2 weeks, my dad would get to the base early, and we spent the first 2 weeks kind of finding and going and exploring all of the different things in that area. So and then when we drove, if it was cross country, if we were staying stateside, like one time we went from Leavenworth, Kansas to Presidio of San Francisco, and I think we took about 3 weeks to travel just 1,500 miles basically. Because yes,
okay,
yeah, we camped and we went and saw everything along the way. And my parents were lifelong learners and book readers, and so back then, you know, when you drove in a car, there really weren't seatbelts and car seats, and we had them packed full of all of our stuff. And we would go camp, and we'd camp. Very rarely stayed in hotels. And we would just kind of bing, bing, bing to all these sites. And my parents also loved to go to tourist traps. And we actually tried to stop.
Rubber band ball and that kind of
yes,
stuff. Yeah.
We actually tried to stop at them. And my favorite one was somewhere down in either New Mexico or Arizona. It was on Route 66, and there was this tourist trap. We kept seeing these signs that said, "See the baby rattlers." So we decided we would stop. Rattlers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Snakes.
Yeah.
So we walk up to these bins after we get stopped, and they had caging over the top of these boxes, and my parents walked up first and looked in, both started laughing and went into the store. So all of us kids kind of walked up and looked in, and it was baby rattlers. It wasn't rattlers what we were expecting. You know what's hilarious is it's one of my best memories because my family was not dismayed or disappointed. We laughed about it. We
cool.
went in. Yeah, it was a cool idea. That's
got us.
It's a tourist trap. I mean, they got us. Yeah. So we went in and bought some cold drinks and had a laugh with the owners there, and then we went down the road looking for the next tourist trap. We really did, because it was just very cool. And so my parents were that way. So a lot of travel, a lot of changing schools. Vietnam was going on, so my dad had 2 tours of Vietnam, and we always went back to Missouri, where my parents are from, during those years that he was in Vietnam. And so my mom was in a place she was familiar with, and her parents were there. And so nice. It made it nice. And so it was a life I wouldn't trade for anything. And one of the weird things in raising my own children is that I couldn't imagine going to the same school. You did it.
Well, it's kind of weird for more than 1 year.
There's a beauty to that, because he has friends that he's been with since preschool.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that experience, and because we didn't have the internet when I graduated high school in 1975, there was the only way you kept in touch was if you happened to get a phone number. And or you knew their mailing address, and so you wrote letters, and that was the only way. So when we parted ways, it was pretty much, we thought, for good.
Yeah.
And by happy chance, a guy that I graduated high school with actually sat with him at graduation. Ashley lives up on the peninsula here, and we found each other right away. Both of our dads retired in the same town in the same year.
Really?
Yeah, and so
What are the chances?
The chances were not very good, but so actually, my best friend in high school, I wound up being in touch with the whole time. But for the most part, most of my friends, I'm now finding them through the internet. But most of my friends, we lost contact, and we're having a reunion this year. So yeah, but that's all thanks to the internet. So it was an interesting life. I'm kind of envious of the idea of going to the same school and being with the same people all your life. I'm kind of envious of that. It's a different life than what I had. And then graduating with people that you went to school with the whole time, and you baseball.
How to walk with these guys.
Yes, and baseball, and we used to paintball here. We had a big paintball field here, and the boys all would come over and paintball. Same with my daughters. You know, they went through the same schools basically, and it's a life that I envy a little bit, but I wouldn't trade being an Army brat.
Yeah, not quite as adventurous.
Not as adventurous, yeah. We tried to. We took you guys as far as...
we went on plenty of adventures, but... So with high school, I mean, were in the States for most of them, but you also did some in Europe.
Yeah.
What was different about?
So let's see. In eighth grade, I was in public school in San Rafael, California, as my dad was stationed across the bay in San Francisco at the Presidio, and then we moved into housing on the Presidio, and even then, we wound up getting bused off the base and down into San Francisco public schools. We then went to Omaha, Nebraska for a year, my 10th grade year, and I was in a public school there too. My dad was studying at the university there for 1 year. And then my 11th and 12th grade year, we went to Europe, and my dad was rotated to Germany, and we'd been there twice before. And so we went to Germany, and I first lived off base in what we called the economy in the German, out with German culture, and that was beautiful and fun and interesting. And then I bussed into a military base for school, so I was in an English-speaking American Department of Defense high school, and 11th, and then I think a little bit after Christmas, my 11th grade year, we moved on to a base, and then I was with people that I was going to high school with, and so 11th and 12th grade year we spent in a single place. And so I was able to experience my 11th and 12th grade years together. So you're probably doing the math and going, well, how was it 12 schools? Well, 5th and 6th grade was 3 schools. So,
geez.
Yeah. So, so that was where the break was. Yeah. That was a Vietnam tour. And so when he came back from Vietnam was the middle of a year. Anyways, so those 2 grades was 3 different schools.
Okay. Did you learn any German?
Any German?
Yeah.
I am terrible with languages, but my good friend Ashley, who I mentioned earlier, speaks fluent German. And we went backpacking together, and we traveled around together, and we hung out together, and we loved going sightseeing together. And he spoke very, very good German, still does. And the funny thing is, after traveling around with him for a while, I would always say, when he'd communicate with somebody, I'd say, well, what'd they say? And he'd tell me what they said. And after about the 90th time of me asking him, I was like, what'd they say? You've been listening to this.
Figure it out.
It's literally what he said. You've been listening to this language now for a year. What do you think he said? And so then I started paying attention. I can still understand German pretty well. I don't speak it. I speak your basic greetings and where is this and where's that type of questions, but as far as conversational, no, I didn't pick it up very well. I picked it up well enough when I was there that I could get along. Ashley still wound up doing most of the talking because he was fluent at it.
Yeah,
and,
that helps.
But I can still read a headline now in German and figure out what it's about. So I picked up enough to be able to do that.
Okay, that's more than me.
Did you take any?
No, you're supposed to take, in high school, you're supposed to take 2 years of a foreign language, and we only had Spanish in our high school, and I managed to talk my way out of doing that. So I did some sort of electrical class.
Alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to do any of that stuff, but
it's okay. We went to Japan, and neither of us really picked up a bunch of Japanese either.
No.
Although it's a beautiful language, and
Yeah.
We would have loved to. We did get the basic greetings down and how to be polite.
Yeah, of course.
So, we picked that stuff up.
know how to say bathroom. That was a big one.
Where's the train?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So then after that, you came back to the States.
Yep, came back
And
to
you
the
started
States.
going to, after 12th grade, so you're college.
I went to college actually 1 year in Munich, Germany,
Okay.
München, and University of Maryland has a branch over there, and I went to Munich and went to that college for 1 year, and it was basically a big travel. We pretty much, yes, we were in college, but we pretty much threw the backpacks on and went wherever we wanted to, and so we did that. It was fun.
Nice.
Came back to the States though, and went to college here.
Okay. How many colleges have you gone to?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Let's see.
according to Mom, you've gone through a few.
I went to a few, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we count a repeat? Because I went back to 1.
No,
So 6.
Technically,
yeah,
6.
Yeah, so 6. 6 colleges, and I blame part of that on being raised as a Rolling Stone and moving every year, and I would get antsy.
Yeah.
And
did you take your classes serious, or were you just...
I was not a good student, folks. one of the things that I get questions about on TikTok a lot is kids who are coming up on exams, and I don't test well and never have, and so my grades didn't really improve until I got to a college that had a forestry program. And once I was there, the head professor of the forestry program, wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to use our student ID numbers, but he posted our grades with our names on the door.
Ooh.
Yeah, so if you were at the bottom and we went through as a team.
Everyone knew.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started ratcheting my grades up at that point, but also I really wanted to get done. And
was that just to kind of encourage people not to be at the bottom, or did he like to embarrass the kids?
Really what it was, we went through as a team, and so what his thinking was, I think what his thinking was, when you see somebody down at the bottom, like if I'd see my friend Tim didn't do well on the last test, we would all group around Tim and help him. Okay. And so it was actually a way of
collaborate.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so because we went through as a team, we pulled together as a team when we saw that somebody bombed, and I bombed a few tests there, and yeah, they rallied to my side, and but by then I'd already kind of figured out how to pass tests and study. So
do the old D for diploma.
I did a few D's, yes.
Okay. Now, your lovely wife, my mother, you guys met in college.
We did meet in college, yes.
How was that experience?
So I was in my third year of college when things are really starting to get serious, and my dad had a sailboat. It was up in Bellingham, and my dad lived in Olympia. My mom and dad lived in Olympia, Washington, and they were going to take the sailboat up because I applied late for Western Washington University. And then my dad wound up getting a good offer on the sailboat, and so he sold it. So then I had to find a place to live, and the only place available was a freshman dorm.
At the age of 20.
At the age of 20.
Almost 21.
I turned 21 while I was there.
Yeah.
And so I was
very popular.
I was very popular, yeah. So I moved into a freshman dorm, and so my friends were all freshmen. And, when you're the one who can go to the liquor store,
purchase some beverages.
Yes, yeah. Beverages, yes. And
college.
Yes, and it's college. And, when you purchase beverages for others, you tend to hang out with them and drink those beverages. And so, it was, I don't know how it would have turned out had I been on a sailboat. I would not have met my wife. I would not have met your mother. Yeah. And so it was a bad year, but it was a good year at the same time.
Do you remember the first time that you saw her?
Yeah, kind of a cool story. So I was in this freshman dorm, and we were on the third floor. It was called Kappa, and there were only a certain number of bathrooms on each floor, and the women's bathroom for our floor was right out my dorm room door.
Just across the
hall. Right across the hall was the women's room. Jeez. So we knew sooner or later they're coming here. And so we hung out in the hallways, and that's how I first met your mom. She had to hit the bathroom sooner or later. Yeah. She lived a few rooms up from me in a co-ed dorm, and she and her roommate were both very pretty young women, and and they were freshmen, and here I was a junior.
Yeah, I'm sure she loved walking down the hall and seeing
all of us.
No, when I talked to her about it, she said that you guys had a group, and you guys had your own name.
We did, and we didn't name ourselves. Yeah. We are still, when people talk about that particular group, guys, we're still called the Hall Rats.
And checks out.
So we would, because the women's room was right there, we started doing our homework out in the hallways. We would socialize out, and we'd just sit against the wall, just sit down. We'd leave a pathway, not a way down the hallway, and we hung out, and so we became known as the Hall Rats. And later, when we all moved out, that group of guys moved out, and we got a couple houses near each other, and lived off campus in houses. When people referred to us, they still referred to us as the Hall Rats. And still to this day, I think of that particular group as the Hall Rats. Yeah. And so we were.
When I asked her about it, she couldn't even talk about it without laughing hysterically, and she told me to ask you a few questions.
Okay. Here we go, guys.
Whether you want to share them or not. But the first one she started laughing was something involving a brick in a window.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys are obviously, hooligans out there.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so, the brick through the window, that actually started at Kappa, leading up to why we threw a brick through the window. We decided we would do a wine and we were going to do a classy party, and so we decided we'd do a wine and cheese tasting party. So we pooled all our money together, the Hall Rats did, and we all dressed up in suits and ties, and the women came in gowns and dresses, and everybody spruced themselves up really well, and we had a wine and cheese tasting party, and we bought all these different kinds of wines, and we bought all these different kinds of cheeses, and that was our first wine and cheese tasting party. And then so it became a tradition. So every year someone else would take on the wine and cheese tasting party.
Okay.
And gosh, I think it was our third or fourth year of doing it. Those two guys had a house, and they decided they would host the wine and cheese tasting party. And so they made a mistake, though, and I'm not going to. We threw a brick through a window. It's their fault. I will still stand by that.
Don't need the details. It's obviously their fault, not yours.
It is their fault. They sent out an invitation because we tried to make this thing as cool and as dressy as we could, as formal as we could, and so they sent out invitations, and they sent one to the Hall Rats. We're all living in one house, and it said RSVP by phone call, mail, or throwing a brick through our window.
Okay.
We took them serious.
Yeah, I mean, technically,
I blame them.
They did.
They did.
It was an option.
It was, and so we found a brick, and we tied a note to it that said the rats will be there, and we threw it through their window. Yeah.
So how did they feel when the Hall Rats did show up?
So
just holding a brick, like, oh, you guys made it. Thank you for RSVPing.
They were a little mad at us, and
so you guys have to pay for the window.
We did pay for the window.
Okay.
They did. Another funny part of the story is that they got mad at us, and they were like, we weren't being serious, and it's like, this is not our fault. You said throw a brick through your window, and so we did, and so then they said the window was, I think it was $78 to replace it. It was a rental, so they had to pay for it. And so they told us that our wine and cheese was going to cost us money until we had paid for $78.
Okay.
So we showed up with bags of coins. We did not bring dollar bills. We would walk up to the bar to get our glasses of wine, dump money out.
And pennies, nickels, dimes,
yep,
quarters?
Yep. I don't even think we went with quarters. And the really funny thing was when we walked in, people were high-fiving us. I was going to do it. I was going to throw a brick through the window. They're lucky every window in the place didn't get broken.
Yeah.
But but we did pay in $78 in change. And so that was kind of the Hall Rats. That was our high water mark as far as
chest out a little more to walk on campus.
People thought it was. I was surprised how many were like, I was gonna do it. Me and my roommate, we were gonna do it. They're lucky they didn't lose every window there. But anyway, we did pay for the window, and they even ultimately, they're probably still telling that same story today.
It's a great story.
It is a good story. It was funny. Don't ever write an invitation that says, "Oh, you can RSVP by throwing a brick through my window." That's a bad idea. There are guys out there who will take you up on it. So.
They're asking for it.
Yeah, they are.
Another story that she couldn't even say without laughing hysterically was a funnel loader.
A funnelator.
Waiter.
Yes, the funnelator, which are illegal.
What is that?
Okay, so
you
didn't know. Okay,
no.
So you take a plastic funnel,
okay,
for fluids.
Yeah.
And you drill 2 holes in on each side, and you do not build one of these. They're illegal.
Illegal or frowned upon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frowned upon, probably. You drill 2 holes in the side, and then you buy heavy gauge surgical tubing, and you make these gigantic rubber bands. And it's a 3-person weapon of war.
Yeah.
So 2 guys that hold on to the surgical tubing, 1 guy holds on to the funnelator and pulls back, and you put a water balloon in. And I have seen water balloons. We went out and tested it on the practice field at Western Washington University. And me and a guy named Kimo were walking in the dark down toward the other end of the football field. We're like 70 yards out from where they were with the funnelator. And we're like, okay, go ahead. And in the dark, we hear this. We're both like, we're diving on the ground. It went 100 yards. And which is why they could seriously hurt somebody if they hit them. And so, but you get 2 guys.
Like a massive slingshot and just launches
in the dorm one time, there was a water balloon fight broke out that we weren't the instigators of, but it broke out, and but they were nailing everybody, so we broke out the funnelator and we just fired this thing down the hallway, and it
just clears it.
Nobody wanted to mess with that. So.
Who invited the hall rats? I take things too seriously.
That's a funnelator, and yeah, so we had a lot of fun with the funnelator, but yeah.
And then you guys all bought a house together.
We did rent a house.
Your friend bought a house, and he became from
yeah.
a friend to a landlord. Which
Yeah,
is completely different.
Yeah, Mike was his name. The other thing about the funnelator is that Mom thinks is hilarious is the security department for Western Washington University was in this open field, and we went out there one night and we had our funnelator and we started dropping water balloons onto them.
Surprise.
And then they called for one of their security guys to come back, and this security car comes racing around the corner, and he's got his spotlight on. And sometimes when you launch a funnelator, the balloon will break, but the water will continue traveling. Yeah. So this spotlight lights up this mist, and it comes right back down to us standing there with this funnelator.
Well, it's not us.
Yeah, we drop it.
Anyway. I just thought they ran that way. If you go now, you can catch them.
They confiscated our funnelator that night, so we built
built
another.
No big trouble. No.
I mean they yelled at us.
Stern talking.
Yes, we got a stern talking to, and but you know what? We went back to the dorm, built another. So
of course, naturally.
However, we did not try that trick again because we had that one actually confiscated too.
No, I'm sure.
So, yeah.
you just have a closet full of hall rats gadgets that they make and confiscated.
Yes, we were. Yeah, it was fun. It was actually fun.
Yeah. And so you said that was Mike's house.
Mike's house. Yep.
Now, is he the same Mike from college that is the reason why none of your kids have seen you without a beard?
Correct. Yeah, that is true. Sure. Mike was a really good guy, and I was fighting forest fires at the time, and he was looking during the summers and going to college, and he was looking for a summer job, and so I was on a 20-man fire crew, and I got Mike a job on the fire crew, and when he got his announcement when he got his letter saying that he was going to be on the fire crew, and we we're going to be on the same 20, we both started growing our beard the same day, and we vowed that we wouldn't be the first one to shave it, and so. So it was on
competition.
And competition, and we were on a fire in Chelan that summer, and Mike died, and his mother did not shave him, and so the challenge is on, and best I can do is a tie, and so that's part of why the beard's here, and in memory of Mike, and also I'm not gonna let I can tie him, and I'm working at it. We're gonna get there, and the thing about losing somebody like that in your life at that age, I was 21 and 22, and I think this is a good thing for younger people to know, is that you are going to lose people who are near and dear to you in your life. And I carry Mike with me everywhere I go, and I have. At first, you have the terrible memories, but now I have nothing. When I think of Mike, I think of. He was a hall rat.
Yeah.
he was, and some of the things that guy would do. And the funny thing was, he became a hall rat, and he wasn't even on our floor or on our wing of that dorm. He liked us though, and so he would hang out with us. And then when we decided we would move off campus, he and his dad bought a house together and fixed it up, and then that's what we moved into.
Okay.
And so good guy though, good heart, good firefighter, and he was just a good guy. He lived in Everett, and Kat, my wife, your mom, lived in Edmonds during the summer, and I was on fires. That was before Mike became a firefighter. He rode his bicycle one time, and it's like 30 miles.
Jeez. Had
lunch with Mom, and rode home. He was just very energetic guy and fun-loving, and he was hilarious. He was hilarious we had a 20-man that lived in a barracks together, and he was kind of the goofy fun guy that was just always fun and energetic, and just good guy.
Good. Well, so that same college that you all met, you only spent 1 year there.
I spent 1 year.
Is there a reason
why
you only spent 1 year?
It was a great year. There is a reason I spent 1 year there. At the end of that 1 year, I was asked not to return. And so
So you didn't get kicked out.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't going to let me back.
Read
so,
between the lines.
Yes, read between the lines. You are not welcome here anymore. And it was a combination of things. I was the leader of the Hall Rats.
Probably didn't help.
The fun lighter incident didn't help either. And then I was the only one who was 21 out of that group, and so so grades also added to that. It was a heck of a year. And the beautiful thing about that year, because even a bad year can have good stuff going on. The fun thing about that year is that I met my wife, and so speaking of, she's coming out.
No, did you try to repeal that
Did
invitation?
I try to get back in?
Oh, you even got me a chair.
You too. Come on.
A lifted chair.
Of course.
It's my wife, Kat.
Hey, hi.
We're joining, and so
How we doing?
we're doing good.
Great.
Good.
Let's talk
So we're
about
just
the time
talking
in college.
college and not being asked back.
How we
And,
met you.
yeah, so,
Not being asked back in
so
writing.
we're gonna actually, I think we can probably work this just right there. What do you think? Let's try
Just
it.
use your
Can you hear
nice...
me?
Oh, so
Oh.
I make these really nice microphone holding instruments out of cherry wood. So
Oh, we're so interesting.
let's see here. So we're gonna do it like that, and so we can just chat away.
As long as I
So
I've still got mine to keep it towards.
is that the right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. Trial and error.
Yeah, that's what we're learning. So let's see. According to the bars, it's
So
coming
we just
in
got
just
done
fine.
talking about hall rats.
Yes.
Oh,
What
yes.
are your,
the
what
hall
were-
rats.
What were your thoughts of the hall rats when you first tried to
Well,
go to the bathroom?
many of us quickly got over the fact that we had to get to the bathroom without our makeup and
yes.
not worry about what we looked like, because we all had to get to the bathroom and had to step over them sometimes to get there.
Every day.
That's one of the beautiful things about being married to Troy to this day.
You can now laugh
Is
about it.
that I don't have to worry about. He'll tell me I look beautiful in the morning when I
She's-
know I don't.
She was
Anyway,
she was the most beautiful girl in our dorm, and she had
he has love eyes.
she had a roommate who was also very beautiful. So they were two knockouts in this rooming
see.
together. And the women's room on our floor, you didn't have showers you had to go to the women's room to shower as women. Although we went in there when there was no one there because it was the closest bathroom.
You went into our bathroom?
Oh yeah, we'd knock. Yeah, we were polite.
It was.
It was right.
Why they didn't put our girls' room down by the girls'
How
bathroom?
far away was
and
your guys' bathroom?
it was way.
Yeah, it was way down the hall.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there were times you gotta go.
Were there girls living down there? Somebody might have
There was,
strategically
and
done this.
actually what do they call them? The dorm
CAs?
the CA.
CNAs?
No, not CNA.
Resident.
RNAs.
RAs.
Resident,
yeah.
resident assistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lived 2 rooms down, and that was a woman. So, and then next door to me was 2 women. In between your room and my room was 2 guys, and so who were hall rats, and still are. And so, yeah, we knew they were coming to us sooner or later. So,
It's a matter of time.
yeah. So, but I did meet this beautiful woman, and the beauty of it was, I knew what she looked like first thing in the morning because we'd be out there reading the newspapers, and here they come. And and we knew what they looked like, and then we knew what they looked like when they came out, and I was like, well, they're still dolls. So that's kind of the story of the Hall Rats, and Kathy and I meeting.
So there's a project that I heard that you did,
Oh.
usually late at night, that he may
Yeah,
or may
where
not.
is that thing?
Oh,
I'm
we
such
just,
a
we
pack
just so
rat.
happened
Just
to have
so
it
happened
right
to
here.
have it right here.
This
I
is
haven't
the
seen
kind of
this thing in
person she
years.
is.
Yes, this will give you an
right.
idea of the kind of person Kathy
I did.
is.
Okay,
She
I
has a
started out as a
degree.
business
Yeah.
major. Okay, but let me see that thing. Oh my gosh, I started out as a business major, but then
A lot of nails.
that's a lot of nails.
Yeah.
It's
That were all
nails.
pounded in the dorm. But then I took Econ 101, and that was as soon as I took Econ, I said I got to find something else to do. So I went in and became an art major, and I had art projects, and I took a metal sculpture class. So this was one of the pieces. It needs to be cleaned up. It looks awfully
This is cleaned
icky.
up.
You
Oh,
should-
really?
should
Oh,
have
you
seen
cleaned it up?
earlier.
Yeah, it had
Oh.
spider webs all over.
Been
Okay.
hanging from that
It's
wall.
been
Well,
in
I'm
the
gonna
garage for-
make it look nice, and I'm gonna hang it someplace in my house.
Okay.
Yeah.
It weighs
Maybe.
a ton because it's made out of nails.
Nails.
So what time were you making these? 'Cause
I was
Hey,
down
how
in the
about you explain?
business.
This is a dormitory. We have quiet hours. Sort of.
But I was down in the basement. Could you actually hear
Oh,
me
yeah.
pounding?
We're at third floor and we could hear it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
think we were.
Midnight, just
There is, I'm going to estimate
big nails,
3,000 nails in here.
But it still looks really cool.
Well, it does look
It
cool.
is
She did
cool.
a good job. But you know what? For about a week,
Yeah.
what we heard all night long was tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, bam, 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 bam. And but I still have this art and I keep it up here with my signs out in the shop. And, because
You know,
it
and
has a cool story.
I couldn't really make a living making those because it probably took me 30, 40 hours to make that because I would work all night to get things done. And
She would. There was one TV in the dorm, and it was down in the basement, and that's where she did it. But it banged all the way through. We could hear it up on the third floor. And
nobody complained that I remember.
oh yes, we did.
Did you?
But
not to you.
Or maybe to each other, the RA.
you had a hammer
The
and
RA
nails. No
never
way were we
came
going to say
down.
anything bad to you.
I could seek the hall rats on her.
Yeah, okay. I do remember vaguely being down in that basement. I do remember being down in that basement and somebody teaching me how to play ping pong.
They had a ping pong table there, and
Had a ping
I
pong
was
table. Not in the same room. That was
at that time I was a better ping
Right
pong
next
player
door.
than my son is, who I sold our ping pong. I gave our ping pong table away because I got tired of being whooped by him. So
Went a whole summer where he didn't beat me once. And so our buddy came and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And he was like, "Oh, your dad donated the ping pong table." What do you mean? I play every day. Well,
not anymore.
yeah. If you want, you can come to this address. It'll be there.
Here's some golf clubs. Go have fun.
Yeah.
But and then I burned all the paddles.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
But I was dating a friend of his.
Yes.
And
was a
he could
steal.
not come. Well, were you really trying to steal me when we were playing ping pong? Because he was just teaching me how to play ping pong, and he did such a good job
She was
that
beautiful
I
and
won.
fun. So was I trying to?
You can't be hitting a nail into a board if you're playing ping pong.
That's
so it's
true.
Sort of quieter.
Yeah, it is a quieter
activity.
sport. Yeah.
Gotcha. But he did teach me how to play ping pong, and I won the ping pong championship.
They did have a ping
at
pong
the-
tournament in
tournament.
her dorm, and she won the women's, and
I
I
won-
got second place in the men's.
Oh, who? Oh, Jim
No,
Walker got first.
it was
No?
Jim Walker.
Yeah.
It was Jim
I think it
Walker.
was Jim Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the hall rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the hall rats, and he was really good.
He
These
was
guys.
good. He was
Yeah.
good.
And did I ever have
was
I
good enough
ever
to beat me.
beaten you unless you let me? This is what I started doing. I started making him play with his left hand. And
Which Chris tried after he was whooping me really bad, and I'm like, don't
Oh,
ever
he
do
gave
that.
us
that's
to me.
how
Don't
Christopher plays
ever
with me.
do
He
that to
plays
me.
with his left hand.
If I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win with your good hand, and
You're not gonna win. I'm trying to help
It was-
you.
that's why I got rid of the ping pong table. But we
Okay.
are actually talking about getting another
Yeah.
one now, so that I can
Really?
be
Try
humbled
again.
again.
Yeah.
Dust off the cobwebs,
Good luck
see what we can do.
finding room in this garage.
Yeah, so
You guys don't see the other side.
No,
At
it's-
some point, you should
it all
turn
looks-
it around.
it all looks beautiful like this.
Yeah, what are you talking about? This is-
My wife is a collector,
Uh,
and so
They try to tell me I'm a hoarder. Okay, now,
she's not old.
okay, on the level of hoardership, there's a 1 to 10.
Mhm.
Okay,
Do you want to
okay.
give our impression
Now,
for-
you know that show they have with hoarders. Okay,
Yeah.
those guys are 10s.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Mm.
So, I personally think I'm a 3,
Ooh.
Mm.
4.
You think
Negotiable.
that. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Anyway,
She's not a classic
But-
hoarder. She's never met a box she didn't like and want to keep, and
Well-
and she's always finding things like, oh, we'll find a purpose for this, and
I find purposes for stuff that people throw away. I
and
do.
The thing that probably the one thing that really gets me is she'll save a broken piece of plastic because it came off something.
Oh,
It came off something, so we're gonna put it in the drawer here till we find out what it came off.
and
of.
there is occasionally a time when okay. So last night yesterday we were up in the attic,
Mhm.
and we have this beautiful old table that belonged to my friend Marilyn Olson, and we bought it from her, I don't know, eons ago, and it has 3 or 4 feet pieces.
It has 4 feet, but one's missing.
One missing.
It's in here.
But it's some here.
It's in here.
in here somewhere.
Yep.
So we're gonna try and find it
We'll
so
find
that
it.
we
It's
can
in here.
find a new home for the table
It's in here.
because we're cleaning out the attic. So
So we'll move on from hoarding
Yes.
because
Not subject to
general
this talk,
disagreement
no.
here.
yeah.
So
But,
back to college. You only spent
Okay.
1 year there.
1 year, and then I was asked not to return.
Did you find it at all?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
What's
So I was asked not to return, and so I wrote a letter of appeal.
This is before AI.
Yeah. Could have used AI that
Oh
day.
yeah.
It came back to me about 2-3 weeks later with a denial, and my letter of appeal was red inked and graded.
Obviously not a passing one.
Yeah. So I did not go back, and so that did not break the hall rats up though. We
No.
stayed together.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
Had
You
you
just
already
went to-
moved? You hadn't moved into Humboldt House yet.
no,
So you went to a community college nearby.
I did go to a community college nearby so I could stay in the area, and changed my major, and but I still lived with guys younger than me, and so
Yep, in the Humboldt House.
in the Humboldt house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike's house. We talked about Mike earlier.
Oh, did ya?
Yeah.
And you eventually moved away from there to on Alaska?
On Alaska for a while. I worked
But
in
how far away is that from Western?
170 miles.
Okay.
Yeah. GPS could tell you.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
it's over 100 miles definitely.
And it
And,
was a very small.
It's a tiny community, and we were working different forestry seasonal jobs,
Okay.
tree planting and some thinning, and I did Christmas trees for a little while. Bundling up Christmas trees, just trying to make money, and so lived in the middle of nowhere.
Sure. 170
But
miles
made
away
his
from
way.
your girlfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with my
So long
girlfriend.
distance relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, no cell phones.
No, so yeah.
No.
Not even dreamt
In
of
the
yet.
70s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've heard that you've hitchhiked. You used
I
to
did.
hitchhike 170 miles one way
One way.
just to go see.
I'd start on
This
a
lovely lady.
to go
Oh,
see
yeah.
my girlfriend. I would start on a Friday, and
After work or
after,
is it?
if I was working, I did seasonal jobs, so sometimes working, sometimes not, and just took a year off in between the community college near Western, and then I took a year off before going back to college, and so I would start on a Friday, and sometimes it was only a 5-hour, 6-hour ride. Sometimes it was 24 hours to get there.
Oh.
Sometimes, and so we would only have, I'd get there sometimes on a Saturday after starting on a Friday, and we would only have a little bit of time because I got to hitchhike
hitchhike
back the other direction. And so, and the way we coordinated this was a payphone that she had the number to,
Mm-hmm.
and she would call on a schedule, and I would be there, and we'd chat for a little bit, and
Wow.
and I think what I used to do was call her, collect, let her know I was there, and she'd decline the collect.
Yeah.
And so then she'd know, call that
Yeah.
number. And and then I would start hitchhiking, and I've had a number of adventures hitchhiking. Some scary, some funny.
I can't fathom doing that.
Wow.
It was,
Oh,
yeah, I know. Climbing in a car with total strangers. There were a couple scary moments. I was actually telling somebody here recently that there was one guy. I think I was talking to you about it. There was one guy that I got picked up by, and
Real
I
weirdo.
still think to this day, I wish I would have taken his license plate down and description and given it to the cops, because this guy,
Who
he
knows?
was out there, and he was. I wouldn't be surprised if he's.
Had done really bad
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
to
it was.
people.
But I also had really good rides. I had people that were just, oh hey, we're heading all the way there, so hop
Yeah.
on in.
That's awesome. That's,
Yeah.
That's I can imagine not many people can say that that's what they used to do.
Yep.
Well, back in our day, now
That was what,
I
the 70s?
never
yeah,
did.
70s and 80s,
You
early
know,
80s. No,
Women,
by the early 80s, we had cars. By the early, I had a car.
Okay.
Yeah, so late 70s.
Okay.
but women didn't hitchhike a lot because it was really, really scary. I mean, that was back in the
Still
days
scary.
of the
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy
Yeah.
and
Green
the
River
Green
Killer.
River Killer
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
but the guys, they
So
Things
yeah,
you do for love.
I throw a backpack
Yeah.
on, and
gosh, I
stick my
took
thumb
it
out.
for granted,
Uh-huh.
you know.
I loved you, so
I
it was
get
worth it. And but boy, sometimes I remember one night sitting. I got dropped off at this off ramp where there was nothing. I mean, it was dark, nothing there, and I was there for probably 3 hours and not a single car had gone by. And I was just about 40 miles short of Bellingham, and man, there was nothing there. And finally, I see scratched into this one light post. Been here 4 hours, not a single car.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
my signal, and it was late at night, so I'm like, oh, dude. So I actually got on the back road. You know, most freeways have a road that parallels them, and got on that back road and walked up to the probably
The
4 or
next
5
exit?
miles to the next exit, and that one was there were cars on that one, so
Okay.
got a ride, but yeah, there were adventures there that that were,
It's quite adventurous.
it was different.
Well, then, when I was
Glad you lived through it.
Yeah, I did, and it was fun. And then we'd have just a day together, and then I'd hitchhike back the other direction.
Well, when I was talking to Mom earlier, she wanted to make it very clear that, you know, about 6 years to get to get your first degree. And how
His
long
2
was
years
this 2-year
degree.
degree?
His 2 year degree
It
took
was a
him
technical
6 years.
degree, yeah. After going to all these universities for a 4-year degree, and I wanted to be a forester, and so I majored in biology at universities, and obviously when asked not to return, that didn't work out. And so I'd always wanted to be a writer, and so the year that I was asked not to return and I went to community college up there, I actually majored in journalism
Okay.
and was editor of the college newspaper for 1 quarter.
Nice.
And, it was interesting to do, fun thing to do. And so then I'd always wanted to be a forester, and that was my whole goal with the biology degree. So there was a really good forest technology school down in Centralia, Washington. And so I applied there and got accepted, and got my forest technology degree the same year Mom graduated from college.
Got my
With her
bachelor's.
Yes.
It did take me 5 years, so I may
By
not.
the way, just to rub it in, Dean's List, it's
Oh.
like
Dean's List one time.
she was always. I'm like, dog.
Oh, but the work that she
Yeah, I
did
know.
at night.
We're putting nails in a board all night long.
Oh gosh, no. I'm a substitute teacher, and I have hundreds and hundreds of kids from preschool to high school, and I love them all. And there's a few things that I have discovered about kids. One, boys wiggle and girls giggle. Okay, can we kind of agree for the most part that that the boys have a harder time sitting still, and the girls just tend to giggle. But anyway,
So in our relationship, I'm the one who likes to sit still, and
you giggle too.
Kathy's busy. I do giggle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kathy's a busy
And
person.
laughter is good medicine. It's good for all of us.
Yes. So after you guys went to college,
Mhm.
how long did the long distance relationship go for?
Oh gosh.
Well, we got married the summer after
we
in
both
September,
graduated, yeah.
after we graduated.
Yeah.
And so I moved to Centralia
Yeah.
for like a month or two.
Yeah. And then I had an apartment there while I was going to college. Then I was on a fire crew at the time as well. 10-man at that time. They did away with most of the 20-man crews that I'd been on for years. And so I was on a 10-man at that time. I was an assistant foreman. And
But summer was our
summer was coming to it. When we got married, fire season was still on. So I actually came back from our honeymoon and went back to fires.
Oh, did you fight fires?
Yeah,
after
for just a
we
little
got
bit.
married?
And then we stayed in Centralia for a little while. And then we
Took all the money we had in the bank.
every last penny we had.
Yep. And decided that
Our money that people had given us for our wedding, we took everything.
We took everything, and we decided that Olympia we'd have better chances
Better
at
chance,
jobs.
yep.
So we signed a lease for 6 months and
6
didn't have
months.
any way to pay it.
Put our first and last month down, and that pretty much wiped out our bank
Yeah.
account. And,
But we got up there and we got jobs.
within a couple weeks, we were both employed. And, they weren't the perfect jobs for us, but they were good jobs for us.
Yeah.
And actually, hers was in graphic design. So
I don't know if
Shelton.
it was in. No, that was later.
that came later.
That
Okay.
came later.
Oh,
when
did
we
you do the
moved
flower
to,
shop?
I did the flower
Okay.
shop. I worked in a flower shop. Learned how
Flowers
to
and pine cones.
do
She
florist.
loves those things.
Yes.
What's that? And I
Okay.
worked for a really terrible boss. You know,
Be polite.
I'm gonna. Well, he's
Yeah,
he's
okay,
gone.
it doesn't
from this
matter.
earth.
Yeah, so
He's gone from this
positivity,
earth.
be nice.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think one of my philosophies is everybody should have a good boss and a bad boss in their
You
life.
need to experience both, yeah.
They need, so that you can appreciate a good boss when you got one. Because
So she did flower shops.
and I sold jewelry.
I worked in a seed extraction plant, which isn't taking seeds out of cones, pine cones and fir cones.
Running great big gigantic dryers.
It's not sitting there with tweezers pulling seeds out.
Plucking them out.
No.
No.
No, this is industrial size. Heat them up, they open in the heat, and the seeds drop out through
Paul Bunyan
mesh.
sized dryers.
Huge things, yeah, 40-foot long kilns that tumble, and the seed would drop down to a conveyor belt, and then we would literally, with 50, usually I think there were 50 bushels of cones in the kiln,
Wow.
and then we would run it out to these 55-gallon drums, the seed, and then they went through a de-winger. It was quite the interesting job.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we did for our first.
Yeah.
When we first got married, you know, when you're first married and you're young, even if you have college degrees, it's still, you do whatever you can do to make things happen.
Yeah.
And so we did.
Yeah.
And you worked on Mount St. Helens shortly after.
Let's see, St. Helens. No, that was after. St. Helens was before that.
Oh, okay.
I
So
would-
where were
Well,
you guys,
the
do you guys
first
remember
time.
when Mount St. Helens?
Yeah,
were?
we were up in Bellingham
When it blew,
when it blew.
the building shook. What was it? A 20-story?
It was
No,
about-
20?
I
I don't
think
know.
that was 18, but yeah, that
Buckingham
building.
Towers.
Yeah, Bucky Towers.
Went off, and I said, I think that was the mountain.
And I happened to be there that weekend.
Because
and,
it shook this giant
the
building
whole
in
building shook.
Bellingham, you know.
She said it's St. Helens. Well, I'd been on a fire crew in that area, had been on St. Helens actually the year before. Yeah, I did. I said, no, there's no way. That thing's 200 miles out. No way. And we turn on the TV, and because sound takes so long, it only travels a little over 600 miles an hour. It took it a while to get there. By the time we turned the TV on, St. Helens is in full eruption, and it had blown. And but I'd been on the volcano several years before on a fire crew. When you're not fighting fires, they find all these really interesting jobs for you, and usually it was cleaning up campgrounds, and sometimes it was thinning alder out of a fir stand of dug fir. But we went up one year, and on Mount St. Helens we picked noble fir cone, which is a high elevation tree, and we picked these noble fir cone, and so there we were right on St. Helens. And then the following year it blew, and we were in Bellingham. I happened to be up there that weekend, and then that summer the 20-man fire crew that I was on was the only volcano trained fire crew in the world.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, they thought all that blowdown would catch on fire, so they wanted one crew trained to do it. There were other crews eventually trained, but our crew was the one that was trained first.
Oh, that was Chesso.
Yeah, it was one of those moments where you're like, woo, we're big boys. And you know, the funny thing was they thought all that blowdown would catch on fire and we'd have these enormous fires. And what they didn't take into account was all those enormous trees that were blown down had, 6 feet of ash on top of them. They were not.
They were smothered.
You could have taken a blowtorch out there and got those things to burn. But we learned helicopter, getting in and out of rappelling and jumping from hovering helicopters, which was really tough because you didn't know how deep the ash was.
Oh yeah.
And so
Like getting on moon dust,
just jumping out, and you just didn't know. And is there a stump under there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we wound up doing, and then we did the because it was so ashy that summer. Another project that our 20-man did was on the north face of Mount St. Helens, the side that blew. We painted 4x8 sheets of plywood green on one side and red on the other, and we went all through the Mount St. Helens roads that they'd cleared, and we put the green side going out because it got so bad. The ash was so, and in an eruption the ash is really bad. So at least if you're on a road, you could see these green signs. You knew you were going away from the volcano, and red you were going toward the volcano.
Oh, okay.
And so we actually did all the road signage up in the blast zone that year. Yeah. So it was kind of a cool job.
Yeah, that's
So,
quite unique.
yeah. Back to the college thing, I did eventually go back and get my bachelor's degree, but that was years later.
Oh, and that's another story.
That is another story.
That's
But
a
I
whole
did
nother
wind up
story.
finally, I got one in environmental science. And,
Yes.
But I was far more mature, and I wasn't housed with freshmen, and I was already married. And
Yeah,
so,
and it only took him 1 year. Was it one or
no, 1/4.
1/4?
I was that close.
He was that,
I was that
close. Yeah, and it only took losing a job.
They did not ask me
And-
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a blessing, and that is a huge story that you should tell sometime.
Tell that story sometime.
Because he ended up winning a lawsuit
Oh,
against the state.
So
Anyway, but that's
Anyway.
well, but he got a check that he never cashed,
no, I never
that
cashed
he
it.
taped to the wall.
So anyway,
So yeah, speaking of just odd things that have happened, you were there with Mount St. Helens.
Yep.
But you were also in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. How did you manage to get 2 for 2 on?
yeah. So I was actually in New Orleans for Katrina, and my family remembers it well. I was running a social service agency at the time, and they had a national event in New Orleans, and so I had scheduled myself to go as an annual thing, and it floats around the United States, and so that year it happened to be in New Orleans, and so I had booked my flight, and I was going to go in a day early so I could go down to the bayou. I'd never seen one before, so I wanted to go experience a bayou. And
what is that?
it's a swamp.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Forest in a swamp.
Yeah.
A forest in a swamp.
Forest in a swamp, and
He loves trees.
I do. And,
Yeah, if you haven't figured that out
yeah.
yet.
You just,
that's the forester in
yeah,
me.
you
So
point. Oh, that's a so and so. Family of that one and
Yeah,
that one. And,
Wherever we go,
you know,
he
you
tells
can
us
get
about the
aspirin
trees.
from the bark of
You
that
know,
one. You know, it's
yeah.
like and they're like, oh,
the
thanks.
scientific name for
Thanks
it
to-
is
yeah.
da-da-da-da.
Its Latin name is this, but they call it this because. Anyway, yeah, I can go there for you if you want to. We'll do like a 6-hour dendrology stuff. So, anyways, so I took a red eye. I left, I think, at like 8 o'clock at night and flew overnight to New Orleans and got in. And the last thing I saw was actually out here in my shop. My laptop was out here. The last thing I saw was Katrina was turning back to Florida. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I called, and the conference was still on.
Mm-hmm.
This is also pre-cell phone days.
Yeah.
And so, well, they were around, but they were pretty rare. Yeah, they were around then.
Was Christopher around then?
Yeah.
He was alive?
Yeah.
Okay, there were cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but they weren't real common, but yeah, there were cell phones. And so I took this red eye, got into New Orleans at dawn, and the pilot, as we landed, said, for those of you who want to stay on the plane, we're going to fly on to Florida. Katrina's out there, and he didn't say anything about where she was going, just, we're going to fly on to Florida, and you're welcome to stay on the plane if you want to. I was like, why would you do that? The last I read was
Going
to
towards Florida.
So I got off the plane, and I found a shuttle bus, and the guy was like, what are you doing? Well, I'm going down to the Marriott downtown. He's like,
Why?
no, everybody's leaving. And I'm like, I don't.
Why
So
are they-
anyway, dropped me off at the Marriott.
You want
And,
to go?
Yeah, and as we're going, now my plane's already left by this time. We're going, and I see all the electrical company vehicles are leaving, and he goes, oh, there goes the power company. Hundreds of vehicles, and they're all heading out together, and I'm like, whoa. Totally confused, and also dazed and confused from a red-eye flight over.
Mm-hmm.
And so not making excuses for a dumb decision.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And so got to the Marriott and checked in, which was unusual too, because it's dawn and they're checking me in.
Yeah.
And got me in my room, and so I went upstairs. I wasn't going to make it to the bayou because I knew even if the hurricane was heading toward Florida, probably the tides were going to be pretty strong.
Yeah.
So, and I had reserved a campsite on the coast, but I just decided I'm not going to make it down there. So I went up to my room, and I went to sleep for probably 6 or 7 hours. Didn't check the news. Didn't bother anything. Just total ignorance.
Going to Florida.
Yep. Should have gone to Florida. And when I woke up, I turned on the news. And Katrina's headed towards New Orleans. And I'm like, what? And,
When you woke up, was it storming?
No.
And
No, it
No?
was coming.
It was coming.
Yeah, and so I immediately went down to the lobby and to reception, and there was a young man, probably 22, 23 years old, behind the counter, good looking young man, and with his Marriott uniform suit on, and I said, I need to get out of the city. And he said,
Good luck.
yeah, you're not. Can I get to the airport? The airport's closed. What? How can the airport be closed? It was like, trains. Last trains left the city 3 hours ago. Rental car. You're not going to get a rental car.
No.
So I was like, oh my gosh. The man slid his hand across the counter and patted me on my hand and said, we're staying here. I'll be with you. And
Wow.
we rode Katrina out in the Marriott. And
How many days was that?
4 days total. It is an experience I would never have traded for anything. I would not trade for anything. The fortunate thing was I was going to take Christopher with me. He would have been 6, but
Wow.
old enough that he could have stayed in my hotel room and played video games or whatever while I was at the conference in the same hotel and just check in on him. I almost took him with me. 4 days later, that would have been terrifying for me to have my son there because it did devastate the building that we were in, and there were some moments, and then getting out of the city required me to it would have been more difficult with my son there. But at one point I was actually contemplating, because the girls used to travel with me. They're quite a bit older than Christopher, and they used to travel with me to conferences, and I'd just bring stuff for them, and they'd stay in the room while I'm in the conference at the same hotel, and then check in on them. But I was really, once it hit, once I realized I was stuck in New Orleans, I was really glad I didn't do that.
As am I.
Yeah. It would have been a cool trip, though.
But
Story to tell.
Cool stories to tell,
you managed to get out.
Yep.
You rode in the back of a pickup truck.
So there was there were 300 of us trapped in the Marriott, and after a couple days
downstairs
in the lobby, when they told us we could stay in our rooms until the building started sustaining damage, was the words that they used. They had us all briefed before the storm hit. We were all the people who were stuck in there. And so they briefed us and told us, you can stay in your rooms until the building starts sustaining damage. And then we're going to evacuate to the ballroom. And we all went and toured this ballroom that had no internal windows, and which made good sense and logical. And the Marriott staff was great, and they had all volunteered. Those who were there had volunteered to stay. And so, and then, gosh, it was before dawn. I don't even know what time it was. I got up and I filled up my bathtub, actually, just not knowing how long we're gonna have to stay here.
Yeah.
And I filled my bathtub with water, and then I was watching out the window, and I realized what woke me up was there had been a giant billboard on the hotel across the street from me, and it was now a flag banging back and forth between these metal posts. And I watched a porta potty, one of those big blue things. They weigh probably, I don't know what they weigh, 500, 600 pounds. It whipped down the street, probably doing 120.
Wow.
And then the PA system came on and said, time to evacuate to the ballroom. So you knew at that point the building sustaining damage. And so I was on the 6th floor, and they said, we'll have someone on every floor. And so I went out and I had a little pin light, flashlight. And
because the power's
gone.
Black.
Yeah. Dark as cool. Man, it was just dark. Went out and I went over to the stairs, and I opened the stairwell, and I could see people filing down, and good group of people heading down. And then I heard this voice down the hallway, and it was an elderly voice, and they said hello, and then I heard a man say, there's no one out there and I can't see. And I heard a woman's voice, very elderly too. So I went back and had my pin light and escorted them to the stairwell, and we went down together, and we spent several days together. I took care of them as best I could. Quite elderly couple, and we got a Christmas card from them for several years afterwards.
Oh, nice.
They're
nice
probably
couple.
our age now, because this was 20 years ago.
No, they were definitely
They were older than us?
Older than us now.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
were probably in their 80s.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're really, yeah, we got to know each other pretty well. He was a professor at a college, and she'd been a housewife, which is one of the hardest jobs on the planet.
Yeah.
And they'd raised kids, and so I got to know him very well, and
Nice.
spend a lot of hours with him.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, we got Christmas cards from them, and when I called them, when I made it home, they made it home after I did. When I called them, it was so cool because they'd given me their number, and I called and I said, "Hey, this is Troy Colley."
Yeah.
He answered, or no, she answered the phone, and she yells, "It's Troy! He made it home!" And they both got on the phone with me. They were so excited.
Yeah,
And,
it was a big experience for all of you.
yeah, for all of
Ah.
us, yeah. And so,
Yeah.
but I did get evacuated finally on day 4, I think it was. They told us the levees had given out, and we were down in the French Quarter at the Marriott there, and I think it was the 4th day, and things were starting to stink pretty bad. No power, no running water, no nothing, and so they started. The funny thing was, I had told them I'm kind of an emergency. My wife calls me Mr. Safety, I think, in terms
Yes.
of emergencies,
Yes.
and which is surprising. I've been on a volcano. I've been in a hurricane, fought forest fires for 11 years, been through a few earthquakes, but she calls me Mr. Safety. But I've survived them all, therefore. What I tell people now when I'm I was just at an annual meeting here recently out on the coast, and I was like going through the basics of. I was leading the meeting. I was going through the basics of. The restrooms are down there. We're adults. Just get up and go. If you got to go, we'll have food served at lunchtime. If there's a tsunami, and so I literally said, I've been on hundreds of forest fires, been through a Cat 5 hurricane, been through earthquakes, been through a tornado, been through a blizzard, a 135 mile an hour windstorm, Mount St. Helens. If a tsunami hits, follow me. I'm going to make it. But after 3 days, and I had been telling the staff, get us out of here. It's now stinking. There's no electricity. It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing the best they could. And I kept saying, you got a heliport on top of this building. I've been there.
With the winds?
No, by then the storm had blown out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
was
it was just hot and muggy.
Yeah.
No electricity. And so the day the levees finally gave out, and they told us that the waters were going to hit the building in a few hours, and they had to get out now. And I had literally at one point told them, you got a parking garage downstairs. I've been down there. It's full of cars. Get us out of here.
Yeah.
And so guess what they did? They called us all together and went, we got a bunch of cars down in the basement. We're going to get us out of here. And so
Off you went.
I went up and packed my stuff in a day pack. They told us to leave our luggage. They'd get that to us later. And I had a young man who was kind of big, huge guy that they put at the door so that none of the looting things would happen around us. And he said, get your pack and I'll get you on a ride as soon as I can. And he looks over at me at some point. I'd been sitting there for about an hour, and he goes, hey, Troy, would you ride in the back of a pickup truck? Oh, heck yeah. Get me out of this city. And so they put me in the back of a pickup truck. I had short pants on, no socks, a t-shirt, and no hat. And 140 miles west we went. And I sunburned something terrible. I got so bad, it was bad. I got burned really bad, and I got to Lafayette, Louisiana, and they dropped me off at an airport, and it was some of the kitchen staff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were college
And
students.
now-
They'd been hired for the summer,
Yeah.
and
Making their way west.
it was over now.
Yeah.
They're not working anymore.
They
in
were
this
the ones
Marriott
that were driving the
that were
pickup.
driving. It was one of their trucks, and so they threw me in the back. Kind of frustrating because here's this older man sitting in the back with all these college students sitting up front with the air conditioning on
Yeah.
and in the shade. And but you know what? They got
And
me
you
out
made
of
it.
there.
That's all
I
that
did.
matters.
You
and
survived, but I
I got to Lafayette, Louisiana, and the airport was there were no flights.
Yeah.
So I went to a rental car place and I got a rental car, and I started driving across Texas,
Okay.
which is, by the way, a very big state, especially that direction. And I drove across Texas and then flew out of El Paso finally and made it home.
Nice.
Yeah, long trip.
so glad
Adventures
to
after
see him.
adventures after adventures.
It was
Yeah.
one thing after another.
So now,
But I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
one of those that was bad at the time, and I knew it was bad at the time, but I wouldn't trade it.
Right.
Yeah.
It was good.
You
It
lived
was,
through it.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
something
Lived to
that
tell
not
the
many
story.
people. So I do have people for years afterwards. I would get emails from people that would say, "Hey Troy, there's a hurricane down in the Gulf. You gonna fly into it?" And I always joke with them. I go, "You know what? I don't travel for anything less than a Cat 5 hurricane. The rest of them are just bogus."
Jeez.
So it was good ride.
Nice. Well, so then you then went and worked. Was that during when you were at CAP?
Yeah, I was at CAP, Community Action Agency.
And that, what exactly was that?
So those are social service agencies all across the United States. They were founded in the '60s, and helping the most needy. And so I was executive director of this organization, and helping as many people as we could, and just anything we could do to help people.
Yeah.
And mostly, usually it was our lobby was mostly women with children and no help, and so found themselves in a bad situation. And so we had emergency housing, we had meal vouchers, we had rental assistance programs, energy assistance programs. We did everything we could do to help these families figure out how to make it for a little while, and get until they could get on their feet again. It was probably for my heart and who I am, probably the best job I ever had. It was just we helped so many.
Yeah.
And
it's a job that I can imagine you really
good at.
enjoyed and took pride in.
I did. I felt really good
That's
about
kind of
it.
like how your heart is you always want to help people.
Yeah. One of the funny stories about CAP though was after my managers, I was executive director, and my managers would they'd see some woman crying in the lobby, and they'd go get their staff and go, "Get her in an interview room. She's crying in the lobby. If Troy sees her, we're in trouble." I'm breaking the wallet out, going, "What do we got to do here?"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how was it going from that to working for a tribe?
So I went from there. I did some private consulting for a while, social services agencies that were generally having some kind of problem, and so I would go in and help fix them up.
That's right.
Straighten things out, or just stabilize or fill in a gap. And I went from there then to a tribe out on the coast, a small coastal tribe, and that was a really cool experience. I'd worked with tribes in the past, and I love the culture. I love the traditions and the history. And though I'm not a native and I'm not tribal, I have a heart.
Adopted you.
I have a heart for them, and for the issues that they have to deal with, and especially in this particular case, the tribes along the coast here are very, very isolated, and this was a tiny tribe, so you wind up wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
And so I wound up housing director, grant writer, HR director, planning director. Yeah, so it just it just kept going, and you fill in where you can, and I saw many beautiful things about the traditions that I just think, wow, I wish the world would function like this. And then they're like any government, they have struggles that are difficult to overcome, and so there were tough parts to it, there were beautiful parts to it, and
met some beautiful people.
Oh gosh, I met
Beautiful
just wonderful,
people.
wonderful spirits and people.
Friends to this day.
Yes, and and on a shop out here recently, when I was talking about the crabs at the bottom of a bucket pulling the one who's escaping down. That was one of my travel friends who's a crabber, told me that story, and it's a beautiful story, and they're so in touch with their land and care about their land and care about their elders. This was really the surprising thing. Was elders are first in everything there within the tribes that I've worked with, and so it was a good experience
Nice.
all around. And I retired from there.
I was saying after that came retirement.
Yeah, I retired from the tribe.
1.5 years.
I did 1.5 years retired, and loved every minute of that.
Yep.
But then I had contact on through LinkedIn. I kept my LinkedIn going, and I had a contact for a part-time 15 to 20 hours a week executive director from home of a foundation. And I had been a grant writer for years asking for the money, and some grants that I've written have been 4 inches thick, and then you get denied. And they're heartbreakers. And but I'd been a pretty successful grant writer, and I did pretty well at it. I helped a lot of organizations with it, and I had always been kind of envious of these guys who are executive directors of foundations because I'm forever writing the grant, trying to get the money.
Yeah.
These guys are like,
They get to send it
they
out.
get to send it out.
Decide.
So I thought it was a cool job, and so I interviewed for it and was hired to do that. So I'm a part-time executive director of a foundation,
Nice.
and we do scholarships to needy kids, and we do community grants. Our community out here is pretty hard hit and fairly low income, and so we help out everywhere that we can. Some wonderful grants, and unfortunately the sad part of it is I do have to say no. And now,
Hardest part of your job.
that is probably the hardest part of my job, is that you get somebody's got a good idea and you can see the need for the funding, but you only have so much, and there's another priority over here that's higher or bigger impact, and so yeah. And fortunately I think I'm good at telling people no. I hope I am. I hope they realize that you submitted a good grant. It had nothing to do with did you not put in a good proposal. It was just that there are these other places where the impact is greater and the need is greater, and so
and sometimes it's not this year.
yeah, and that's pretty much what I tell people.
Yeah.
Let's work for next year and see if we can
Good to know for
squeeze
now.
squeeze something in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then while all that's going on, kind of want to talk about January 21st,
Oh.
January 21st.
2025.
Okay.
So
Take me through that day.
all right.
Wasn't that the day that you dropped me off on your way out to the beach? And you picked me
Yeah,
up on the
that's
way
day.
back?
They all went out to the
Yeah,
coast
that's kind of our routine.
with a solid 42 followers on TikTok.
I had 42 followers on TikTok that day, and actually 3 months earlier, my daughter Leah had asked me to
Start posting
move
on there.
my shop thoughts to TikTok.
Yeah.
And I didn't know TikTok, but I figured out how to put my shop thoughts on there. Christopher's taken over that part of my life, and you all can thank him for that.
Spent an unhealthy amount of time on TikTok, I would admit.
And Instagram and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's his thing, and I thank him for it because
Yeah.
I'm a creator. I love doing those things, and he's more into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
And he knows that stuff. So my wife's a volunteeraholic, and so I had dropped her off at a place where she volunteers, and in Aberdeen, and then I went on out to the coast where I lose signal on my cell phone for the foundation. I had a thing out there I had to do, and I had 42 followers that morning, January 21st, and on my way back, when I got in range, I checked my phone to see if my family had messaged me if I needed to do anything or take care of anything, or if anybody needed a call, and I noticed the little TikTok icon, and I saw this 99 in red next to it, and what I didn't see was a little tiny plus sign. It only goes up to 99 and then it puts the plus sign. I didn't know that. So I messaged my daughter real quick and said, Leah, the one who got me to
Start posting
go
on
TikTok, and said, hey, something's going on my TikTok. Can you check it out? 8 minutes later, I get a message from her. You're blowing up.
Yeah.
And so I picked Kat up at the place she was volunteering, and we started heading home. And by the time I got home,
she started a group chat with everyone in the family when she was like posting pictures. We still have them. Like, he just hit 2,000 followers. This is
42 to start, and I was happy with 42.
And it was like, that's awesome. And then, more people were watching his stuff, and then by the end of the day, it was like close to 4,000, and we were like, oh man, he might hit 5,000.
Yeah.
Like that
Weird.
would be,
Woo!
Yeah, and but it was quite an.
I remember when we hit 6,000. I saw somebody say that on Facebook. I think that I'd hit 6,000.
Because on Facebook, how many people had before this
what was
blew
your
up?
average view?
What was your
On
average view
Facebook,
on
my
Facebook?
average view because I posted on Facebook for years, and the whole goal was to just wish everybody a great weekend, forget all the bad stuff that happened this week, and have a great time. You got a couple days, you earned them, and here's a bad dad joke, and that's where it started and what my heart was, and
You'd
so
help a few hundred.
yeah,
or
probably.
a few hundred
I was
views.
getting 200 to 300 views, but it would take like a week or two to get 200 to 300
like
views.
most people.
I had
on
one that I
Facebook.
did with my friend Ashley that I told you about earlier, that we were Army brats together. We did at an Airbnb, and we try to get together quarterly. And he and I did one there, just a couple minutes talking about how we met, and that one went over 700, and it's because it went to an Army Brat webpage and spread
That's
out
that,
from
yeah.
there. So
Right.
that was 700. That was my high water mark,
Mm-hmm.
and I was 700. Woo!
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
getting there. And so yeah, when we crossed the 2,000 mark, it was like wow.
Yeah.
And then I remember messages or some post on Facebook of it hitting 6,000, and that was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
big
But
number.
You were trying to be like, someone needs to figure out why this is happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So
It was.
eventually, I looked on your computer, went to the activities, and I saw that Cole made a video about yours
Yep.
about you found some old man in the shop.
Yep. Found this old guy.
Not getting any views. Can
Yep.
we help him out?
Yep. Literally, I can quote it for you. Found this old man. He's putting so much work into his videos and getting no views. Can we help him?
Yeah.
Dude,
And
Oh,
what's his username? It's
Scantry.
Scantry. That's right.
Scantry.
And no reason. He just wanted to help somebody, and he did it. And
he loved your message.
he's
Yeah.
he will always be in my heart. And
Yeah.
what a special man. And come to find out, he's a 19-year-old who has had a lot of followers, and so he just asked his followers, "Can we help him?" And you know,
Thank
only
you.
a person with good heart
Yeah.
would do that. And so, yeah, from there,
Cut to.
cut to.
Cut to.
I remember. So I think that was on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
By Thursday night,
Yep.
you went and played guitar.
Yeah, played with a music team.
Yeah, me and Laura were here, and we were like, you know, at the rate that he's going, he's gonna hit 1 million by tonight. And then we're still like, what is going on? Like this doesn't make any sense. Even so, we're like, okay, in case he does hit it, it'd be cool to have a kind of like a celebration thing. So we're panicking because we don't know what time he's gonna be back. So we're racing to the store, 5 minutes away, not too much, looking for candles, looking for a cake, looking for balloons, looking for all this stuff. And the whole time she's like, oh, what if he's already there? What if we drove past the car and she's like, is that him? Oh no. Like, no, it's not him. That's a pickup truck. He drives a Prius. We do get all the stuff. We make it back. Still not there. And so we
Still not at 1 million.
close though.
Oh, and I wasn't there.
You weren't there yet.
Yeah.
And so Laura, my sister, she put we got a candle of a 1, and then she wrote out in frosting 1 million.
Uh-huh.
We had balloons.
Yep.
It was an Oreo cake, very delicious,
Yes,
by
it
the way. And so we hid it out here in the garage. And so when he finally did get home, he was like, I want to say 20,000 away, 30,000. And so it was one of the times when he was kind of overwhelmed, and he's like, I gotta just go do my thing. I gotta go play guitar, do some,
Yep.
leave the phone away,
I
get off
did.
social media,
Yep.
and it was.
Yeah.
And so when he got home, we were just like, he's very close, and we tried to distract him, like, hey, let's go see what's in your office. And Laura's out there getting the cake ready and the balloons and everything like that. And so I was like, oh, by the way, I think we need your help in the kitchen for some reason. You should probably just follow me. So we walked into the kitchen, and sure enough,
Had a cake, and
he had just hit 1 million like 2 minutes prior to that, and
Wow.
just a surreal experience.
yes, it
And
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids blessed me with that cake. They actually had bought a cake that had all this different stuff on the top. They had to scrape
yeah,
the
we had to
top
level
off.
it out because it
Right,
looked
1
weird.
million, which they were really. I thought it was professionally done. It was beautiful, and they got a first birthday candle. It was just a big
Yeah.
one. Had it stuck in there, and then these balloons. And I walked in, and I saw the 1 million, and I literally was like,
Are
"Really?
you serious? Yeah. Like,
Is it 1 million?" And you guys did it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? In
Blessing
looking
to
at
my
it,
heart.
it was a miracle.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
just one of those things.
Well, this
Just-
is
Just
you know,
unaccountable. Can't
Nothing
account for it.
Anybody had a vision of,
I did
hope
nothing but
for
what
or
I
thought of.
do, which was Friday Night Shop Thoughts, and then you have Cole step in there, and then you guys all just man, oh man,
Yeah.
and so there was 1 million, and
it just kept going.
it just kept going, and I was for the first couple days actually scared at the
Yeah.
music practice that night. I had people kind of gather around me, and I was shaking.
Wow.
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know. As Christopher and I talked about earlier, I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm a quiet person, and I like my privacy, and I like my alone time, and which is one of the benefits of being married to a Kathy. Is if it were just up to me, I'd have my alone time all the time. But she likes to go, and so I get to go, and so
the big thing that you kept asking the whole time was why.
yeah, why?
And that's even still to this day. It's like, why?
Why?
We don't know.
Yeah,
It's just
I think combination of I think people were excited to help. I think people got excited about the ride. Yeah, I think it was can we get there? And then but I think also the old guy in the shop I think the message is
it's
solid.
a positive message.
It's a positive message in a world that the online world can be dark at times, and I get that. And fortunately, because of what I like to watch, the algorithm gives me stuff that I like to watch. So I get funny stuff, I get inspirational stuff, I get a lot of cat and dog stuff, and I get a lot of stuff that are tear jerkers because I like that kind of thing, and I like heart stuff, and I think that message that I give falls into that category, and I really, the internet, the online needs more light. I think there's a lot of light in there, but the darkness can get the press can get the the big hits, and so. But I think people are looking for it. I think that resonated with people, and but I think people are also really excited about. Can we get this? Can we do it? Can we get this guy? Yeah, can we help him?
Absolutely.
And I think it was, and that's why I say on many of my comments, it's as much your story as it is mine.
Yeah.
You all took it there, and so I'll always be grateful, and I will always be grateful to Cole. And just as a sideline, he and I will be doing a live together. We're going to co-host a live together sometime here soon, because I would love to hear how this ride was on his side.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Well, and I think one of the reasons it's taken off is that people are hungry for good food.
I think so too.
I think we all need to feed on good stuff, because there's stuff out there that are making people angry,
and that makes you ill, and so
a joyful heart is good medicine. Laughter is good medicine. Being happy is good medicine.
This is a laughing person. She just has always been, and
every morning I'm on a laughter yoga.
She does
Not every
laughing yoga
morning,
most mornings.
But I have a group of people that believe that laughter is good medicine, and they've seen that.
And it is.
And so at 8 o'clock in the morning, every day, they have a call where they laugh up to 20 minutes. I usually come in the last 5 because they're now friends that I've connected with.
So the interesting thing is, I think there are things that people do that really suit who they are.
Yes.
When I heard that Kat was doing laughing yoga, I'm like, that makes sense.
No one was surprised when she started doing it.
But she does have a group of friends that she laughs with on a regular basis.
And
but she's also generally just a joyful spirit.
And encourage
Kristen
each other.
and I are far more somber. Not
Opposite.
Opposite.
We like our quiet time.
Yes.
And but she does make me go out.
Both of them.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But
All
then at
of
the
us
same time,
have
it was Christopher's idea to go to Japan a year ago, and
That's true.
And that was a total
That
okay.
was
That was a
first
special
time in 20 years that we had, at least since we'd vacationed as a family, I think.
We hadn't done it in a while.
All of us.
The girls are quite a bit older than Christopher, and he came along when I was 40.
Yeah.
We were
Well,
almost 40.
the girls were 8 and 10.
Yeah.
And, Christopher had 3 mommies, and 1 dad.
One dad.
And
I'm not the disciplinarian of the 3, so.
And I don't remember ever.
No, we never really had to with Christopher. He was a pretty good kid.
One of my great tools with kids has always been to count to 3.
Okay.
The 1, 2, 3 magic. I read a book and saw a video. Anyway, Christopher, I don't ever remember getting to 3 because he was smart.
Did not like getting in trouble.
No.
That was a big thing.
No.
They took stuff away from you if you got in trouble. So it's like, well,
I want my
I like
stuff.
to play video games, and if you get taken away. But
Go ahead.
all of this TikTok stuff, it's just another one of your adventures.
It is.
Yeah.
You're going to be expanding,
it is.
so
Totally.
we've gone over a whole bunch of adventures, and
Yeah.
this is just going to be another one of them.
I'm 68, and I've had and this is my latest adventure.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
So it
Okay, thanks, you guys.
makes me wonder what is next for the Troycolley203.
Ooh,
It's
that's a good question.
I hope that my family thinks this way, because I definitely do, and I hope you guys do too. It is an adventure, and some
It's
of
not scripted yet.
no, some of the adventures, some of the parts of the adventure are rough. And so, as I talk a lot of times about marriage with other people, you get these valleys and these mountaintops,
Yeah.
and you got to find a way to get through the valleys. Everybody's journey is going to have some rough spots, and everybody's journey is going to have some high spots. And for me, at 68 years old, to take off like that on TikTok and to have
A high ride.
Yeah,
A mountaintop.
and to have so many people that have shown me their heart and their love and befriended me, and it just goes to show you that even at 68 it just never ends. But and so I knew even with this that my adventures aren't over. And so as far as projects that are coming up, I'm going to keep doing the Friday night shop thoughts. I love those. And Christopher and I are going to start doing some more podcasts. Christopher's actually going to break off and do a couple of them on his own with his buddies, who are just a blast. They all call me Dad. I was in their lives all their lives.
He's got some great buddies.
He
in
does.
his
They're
life.
just wonderful guys. And
Most
so,
of them golf.
They are.
Just,
When they're together, they are hilarious. And someday we'll do a podcast on what it was like playing paintball with them from when they were pretty darn young
Kids
to I couldn't
teenagers.
get on the field with them because they were dangerous.
Surgical.
There are stories to
Not
tell
the
there.
early years, though. That's for sure.
But for me, right now, as far as moving into the future,
oh, your book.
I just finished with Christopher's help. Thank you. Nice
Thank you,
segue, Kat. Jeez, did you script that?
No. I'm
No,
just thinking,
no.
So
what's next? Oh, the book.
Yeah, I've been writing since I was in middle school. I remember writing short stories in middle school, and then I remember when I was in high school, I wanted to be a published author. And I've written a lot of books, but I never went to have any of them published. I did go to some writers' conferences. I did meet with some editors, and I did send some books off, but I never, back before the internet, you send to a publishing house and hope for the best, and they probably got 10,000 different volumes to read. And so I think I got fairly close to an editor paying close attention at one point, because it came back with either spaghetti stains or pizza stains on it, so he'd actually read the thing. Yeah,
Or at least the first few pages.
or at least he dripped spaghetti sauce on it. So that's as close as I got, and then I haven't actually sent anything out for years, but I continued to write because it's something that I love to do. And so I have lots of journals, and so I wrote on
all those floppy disks up in the attic
And-
we saw
Chris.
the other day. We were looking through them, and it's-
Chris has been digging through our 5 1/4 inch floppy disks, and then our 3 1/4 inch floppy disks, and he's had to go through a bunch of them because we've been looking for some of my older writings. And but he's been finding all kinds of videos and all kinds of pictures and all kinds of stuff. So it's been a good ride. And so I had a next door neighbor woman read one of my books years ago, and
Do you remember which one she
that
read?
was it's one that we're Mark
The Mark,
that we're
okay.
working on right now, and it won't be that's its working title. That won't be the title. But she'd read that, and then and she made comment, and I rewrote, and like all novels, you just keep writing them. And she came to me one day and said, "Man, I had a dream last night. Gray swirling clouds, and out of it came Mission Beyond by R. Troycolley."
Really?
And I said, "Well, what was it about?" "I don't know. It just said Mission Beyond by R. Troycolley." So I wrote it down in one of my journals.
Wow.
And years later, I was thinking about. I found that entry, and I was in a place in our lives that suddenly there was a story.
Wow.
And suddenly there was a story. She didn't have that story. She's read it since then. And in the dedication, I actually thank her for her dream, because it took us to worlds we've that have never been seen before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Linda, thank you so much for sharing that dream with me. Still my neighbor.
Yeah,
And,
great neighbors.
Yeah, great neighbors. And so I have, with a lot of help here recently, taken this book, Mission Beyond, that was Linda's dream, and that suddenly came to me what the story would be. And it's a sci-fi. And I handed it over to Christopher for final editing, and my daughter Leah and her significant other Orion.
November.
So they've been, all of them have been piecing, but Christopher's done the lion's share here in the last month of getting it finally ready to go. And so we're hoping that by the end of this week, we will be up on Amazon for $9.99, I think. That stuff's all Christopher will sort through all that stuff. But the novel's ready, and we will do. It's a sci-fi. It's about
we got a logo,
and we have a logo, and Kathy had a hat made says Mission Beyond.
And your
I can't wait
brother
to wear
did
it.
a design.
My brother Sean is a wonderful musician. He's actually linked on my.
He's probably watching this.
He's on my. He's not linked on my TikTok, but
we repost a lot of his
I
stuff.
repost a lot of his stuff. Yeah, he's a wonderful musician and poet, and I'll have him on a podcast at some point.
We'll get him on.
You'll
love him.
You will love him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone
man's
loves him.
just he's so brainy though. Sometimes he does a 50,000 foot flyby, and you're like, "What'd you just slow down?"
A couple steps
Explain
back.
it.
Talk slower.
Yeah, do that in third grade level. He's
Like
just.
that was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, dang. I guess we'll just let it go then. He designed the cover for me based on the dream, and now it's all together, and it's been a wonderful thing. And part of the thing that I think is important for people to understand about, I'm 68 years old. I've had this dream of being a published author since high school.
Yeah.
I'm 68,
Wow.
and I'm doing it.
Yeah,
And,
the dream's coming true.
50 plus years
of dreaming about it, and it's finally happening.
Finally making it a reality.
And really, it doesn't even matter to me if it ever sells to anybody.
Just the fact that it's published.
Did it.
Yeah.
I did it after all these years, and I think the message there for people and for my own family and for everybody is, you never quit.
Yeah.
I never quit I never quit writing. I love doing it. I never quit writing. I always wanted to publish, but I never quit writing. And I tell people also, I picked up guitar at 40 because I wanted to learn how to play a musical instrument. At 40, I picked up a guitar and went to the library and got books because the internet wasn't what it was now and what it is now. And so keep those dreams going. And I don't care how big they are, how crazy they sound. It doesn't matter. Yes.
What doubt kills more dreams than failure ever has.
That is a beautiful saying. Yeah. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever has. And
wow, who said that? Do you know?
Chris just did.
No, I've heard it before. But
You've heard
I
it
don't
before.
know
Yeah.
So the message there
Powerful.
though is don't let those dreams die, and man, don't let them die. I'm 68. I'm about to accomplish one of my dreams finally.
Yeah.
And so it might be a long grind. Maybe it's a short grind though too. It's a different world today than it was when I was. You had to send to a publishing house. You had to find a publishing. I was actually showing Chris up in the attic yesterday.
Like
in the 90s, you got this phone book size thing you had to buy every year that had all of the publishing houses in it and how they wanted the manuscript sent to them and where to send it to. And it was like a phone book.
Yeah, it was.
Went into the recycle pile.
It did. Yeah, it went into recycling because that's ridiculous now. But now because of online and the internet, you can do this stuff now yourself and you can bypass what was a huge process that you had to be extra special to make the top of the heap. And and there are, I don't know how many undiscovered great writers were destroyed during that time because they never made the top of the heap.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, keep those dreams alive. And
Yes,
thanks for asking that, because that's kind of my next goal.
As someone who's read the book, I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
Even if it wasn't written by you, I think it'd still be a book that I would read in school or outside of school. Or I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank
I
you.
read it a few times.
Yeah, he's learned that editing means reading it more than
He
once.
knows the book better than
So,
Troy does.
Yeah, so he'll give me an edit. I'll go in and I'll rewrite.
I only found a couple holes
in the last one.
Yeah.
And I give it back to him. Guess who gets to read it again? And he gives it back to me. I do it again. Guess who gets to read it again?
Yeah.
And so
It's fun, though.
yeah.
I enjoyed it.
He actually caught one 2 nights ago. I've read this book myself 10 times.
Yeah.
And there was one paragraph that had the same thing said at the beginning of the paragraph. Something else happens, and then at the end of the paragraph again, it's like, how did I miss that after all this time? But boy, he caught it. So yeah. So it's been a fun ride. It's been fun working with Christopher doing it, and Kat's been designing the artwork for the stuff. So
and our girls are
actively
doing different stuff, doing
Leah's
web
doing
stuff,
the website.
websites,
Laura does all the technical online, some of the
web.
domain stuff and
Yeah.
all that kind of
Fun
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The really stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah, I'm actually glad I'm not the one doing it.
And this is for Mom, watching this and watching my family work through all of this together and coming as a team and doing some family meetings where we're talking about all this. This has been a gift.
It has been.
To our family at a time we all needed a great gift.
And it's because it's a different world now.
Yeah.
And it moved past where Kathy and I are, and I hate to even think about it, but it's true. Because I don't want to be one of those old guys who I don't get that. But here I am.
Yeah.
Chris, for the first couple weeks,
man.
had my phone more often than I did.
Whenever it was first happening, I was like, okay, I need to check something. Can you open TikTok? And he's like, yeah, which one does that one look like again? I was like, oh, okay.
Just take my
Beautiful.
phone.
Yeah, to see it. It's right here. Most recent one.
I'm still trying to figure out the TikTok
She
thing.
still is, yeah.
Amount of questions.
You know, and it's just that it's moved so much faster now than, the funny thing is that we were the generation where I remember when we got a color television, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And the thing was probably weighed 60 tons. I remember everything was a landline attached to a wall.
Yeah.
3 inches or 3 feet of cord. And now, you guys are so connected in this world, and it has allowed you all to be connected in this world. And we understand, we know what that's like, but here's my phone.
Yeah.
It's just easier to just.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that we are in this time. It's a cool time.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future. See what's going to go on.
Yeah.
I know we've been talking for a very long time. It's dark now.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point to kind of wrap it up, and definitely a little bit longer than we anticipated. But
this was our first podcast,
we wanted you all to really get to know Troycolley203. Yes. So I'm excited for future episodes.
Yeah.
We're going to do a bunch of stuff, and
and give us some good feedback about
let us know
what you thought worked,
Questions,
because
anything.
we don't know what we're doing.
No, we're a trial and error kind of guy.
Yeah, I know. So it would be really great to hear from you about what you liked, and if there's other things that you want to
hear us talk about,
and
guests that you might be interested in. We're talking about having some friends on, and so
I'm excited to see Ashley come on, and
we'll have,
and our girls should come on.
We'll have the girls come on.
Yeah.
Once again, we'll have Beauty on the show. There's me and Chris, and then we invite Beauty on the show. So we'll have the girls on, and there'll be more Beauty on the show.
My girls are far more beautiful than
They're
their
beautiful girls, and I have a beautiful son too.
But they're just and they're sweet inside and out, which is most important.
Well, thank you for coming to our first
thank
episode.
You guys.
And
appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Take care. This is Troycolley203 out.